Imagine this, you see a father who watches his own son die, yet he remains completely unmoved. What would you think? Today, we're going to talk about a truly shocking Buddhist story called The Loving Father and the Dead Son. We'll explore the profound wisdom hidden behind this seemingly cold scene. This story comes from the Sutra on the Five Unchanging Ones. We can delve into it so deeply today thanks to the Buddha Nature Association of Australia, who provided the Master's teachings. Are you ready? Let's step into this rather incredible story together. The story begins without any warning. On a very ordinary afternoon, a venomous snake suddenly appeared in a field and bit a young man fiercely. Tragedy struck. But what happened next was truly incomprehensible. The young man's father watched his son collapse, but he did absolutely nothing. He just continued to plow his field as if nothing had happened. What on earth was going on? A passing practitioner also saw the event. Like us, his mind was full of questions. Was this father really so cold and heartless? Or was there some wisdom behind this completely illogical behavior that we ordinary people couldn't possibly understand? The practitioner was so puzzled that he decided to find the answer. He walked up to the family, wanting to ask them directly, "Why don't you have a single chair? Where does this extraordinary calm come from?" He first approached the father. The old farmer's reply was so calm it was a little chilling. He said, "What's born must die. What's the use of crying?" And it didn't stop there. He added something even more astonishing. He asked the practitioner to go into town for him and pass a message. "Tell my family to prepare one last portion of rice for lunch." Carrying this incredibly strange message, the practitioner went into town and found the boy's mother. He thought, surely the mother would be distraught. But she wasn't at all. The mother just said calmly, "My son was like a guest. I didn't reject him when he came, and I won't hold on to him when he leaves." The practitioner was even more confused. He then went to ask the deceased sister. Her reply was almost like a philosophical poem. She said, "The bond between siblings is like a bundle of firewood tied together. When the wind comes and breaks the rope, everyone goes their separate ways." Okay, so the parents and sister were like this. What about the newlywed wife who had just lost her husband? Surely she would cry? But the wisdom in her metaphor was truly chilling. She said, "Husbands and wives are just like birds in a forest. They happen to perch on the same branch at night, but at dawn, they fly off in different directions. Look at this entire family. From the father and mother to the sister and wife, and even the family servant, their reactions were all the same. The servant said, 'The master is like a big ox, and we are the small calves following alongside. When the big ox meets with a disaster, the little calves are powerless.' There wasn't a single tear or a hint of sadness throughout the whole event. Who were these people? The practitioner's worldview was completely shaken. He had heard that the people here were very compassionate and wise, so he had traveled a long distance to visit. But instead, he encountered 5 people who, in his eyes, were utterly heartless and cold. His values were greatly challenged. So, he took this unanswerable question to the ultimate authority, the Buddha. From the practitioner's perspective, the answer was simple. The family's behavior was a complete violation of human decency. It was a total transgression of the human relationships and moral principles that we should all have. This was the only conclusion he could draw based on worldly morality. But would the Buddha agree with him? The Buddha's response left the practitioner stunned and speechless. The Buddha not only didn't blame the family but praised them greatly. The Buddha said, "They are the ones who truly understand the great way, because they have seen through the impermanence of all things. They know that everything changes, and they know that sadness cannot bring back the dead. That is why they can live contentedly and accept their fate." Now, after hearing the story, we might be like that practitioner. Even with the Buddha's explanation, we feel like we understand, but something still feels off. Next, we will use the Master's teachings to truly unlock the deepest meaning of this story. The Master directly poses the question to each of us. He says, "Don't be so quick to nod and say you understand. Do we really understand? More importantly, put your hand on your heart and ask yourself, if this happened to me today, could I have even won 10,000 of their peace?" I think for most of us, the answer would be no. This isn't just a rhetorical question, it's the most honest question for us. Now, here comes the most crucial part. In the Buddha's praise, he said one last thing, "Such are those 5, and such is the ultimate attainment." What does this phrase mean? The Master revealed its core meaning to us. It means that like those 5 people, their lives were not lived in vain. Why were their lives not in vain? Such high praise. The master explained, think about it. If our lives are only spent worrying about who loves me today and who hates me tomorrow, and we are overjoyed when we gain something and heartbroken when we lose it, then we are like being bound by emotional chains, just spinning in place. In that case, our lives would have been lived in vain. But these 5 people broke free from those chains and gained true freedom, which is what we call liberation. So you see, this ancient story, through the master's teachings, ultimately points to a very important question for each of us. How do we live a life that isn't in vain? In fact, this whole story also points out a path for us. The first step is to have wisdom to truly understand from the bottom of our hearts that nothing is permanent. The second step is to learn acceptance, to let go of the tight grip of attachment and clinging to people and things that we know are destined to pass away. Finally, when we can do these 2 things, we can reach the third step, liberation. Only then is a life not lived in vain. Let's go back to that confusing scene from the beginning. Was that father really so cold-hearted? The master enlightened us. Think about it. In an era without anti-venom, any movement or bumping would only accelerate the spread of the venom, and thus, death. So the father's inaction was not heartlessness. On the contrary, it was the deepest kind of compassion that allowed his son to pass more peacefully. His calmness came from wisdom and also from love. So when the master asks if we understand, he's not just asking if we understand the story. This story is like a mirror, meant to reflect ourselves. The real question he's asking is, in my own life, what am I holding onto so tightly? Is it certain people, certain things, or certain ideas? And are these attachments also preventing me from living a life that isn't in vain?